James Gunn recently revealed his top 3 favorite comic book movies of all time. So let's talk about his top 3 and why it's drawn some backlash, which I don't get. But of course, as we've covered before, if James Gunn so much as takes a breath, it's an insult at something over someone for whatever reason, somehow. So starting off this list to show us that he's a full-on traitor and a marble shill, James Gunn's number 3 film is Deadpool, the original Deadpool. He loves this film. He says it's one of those films that's just a perfect adaptation of the comic book, more heart than the comics, and he believes it's an all-time great that will go down as something that redefined comic book films. And largely, he's right. It proved that Deadpool was viable after Fox tried to bury him. It proved that R-rated Marvel films can work with audiences, and that if you use the character that fits the mold, it's perfect. So, yeah, number 3, great pick. Number 2 is the one that draws him a lot of backlash because Superman the movie. Because apparently this outdated piece of crap, and I'm using that as a quote that I saw on an article that had the most likes underneath it, stating that this is a cheap imitation and not as good as Man of Steel, which doesn't make sense because this is literally the granddaddy of all modern comic book films. It makes sense why James Gunn likes it. And he says that this is the film that changed his life, and it's the reason that he's doing Superman Legacy. And he said this was the big movie magic, the Star Wars for the superhero genre. Which he's 100% right. Superman the movie is literally a perfect pick. No matter who you are, Marvel or DC fan, you would not have either brand as popular as they are today without this film. A proven fact, literally by Hollywood. So, it's a great pick. Once again, James Gunn said nothing wrong by not picking Man of Steel. And number 1 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. He says because he directed it, it's the greatest thing that's ever been put on film. No, I'm just kidding. It's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. He's not an egomaniac that's going to pat himself on the back the entire time, pretending like he's some sort of god of films. He doesn't even mention those films in the same, breath as any of these. Instead, he puts all the praise on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, saying that the entire film from start to finish is just about perfect. There's not a bad beat in it from start to finish, and that there is no better comic book film that's ever been made. That this is literally like a perfect comic book film. And as somebody who absolutely loved this film, and still to this day loves it, it's one of my wife's absolute favorite, I'm not going to disagree with him. It might not be my personal favorite Spider-Man film, but if I was to grade them in terms of quality and not just, fanboy, I honestly think this would literally be number 1 for me in terms of Spider-Man. And when it comes to just overall Marvel and DC, it would easily make top 5 for me in terms of best ever quality-wise and everything that they do right, and not personal list, which I always got to specify. My lists are completely different when it comes to what I think is the best and personal best. So, yeah, a great list.